This once grand mansion house in the former German province of Lower Silesia was overrun by the Red Army in the last days of Hitler's Reich. Now part of Poland, it wasn't until after the war that the Soviets uncovered bizarre, top-secret Nazi files locked inside the crumbling walls. The mansion had been used by the SS, Heinrich Himmler's dreaded secret service, the organization that ran Nazi death camps across Europe. The SS files were packed with details of execution and torture. But these were not records of Nazi atrocities. They were ancient documents, hundreds of years old, relating to the trial and persecution of witches. Hitler's henchman, Heinrich Himmler, had secretly amassed the most extensive collection of historic documents about witch trials in the world. The SS chief raided and researched archives in Germany, the Americas, Russia, even India. The so-called Special Witch Investigation files were taken to an archive in Poznan. The Polish Secret Service struggled to decode them.
The Special Witch Investigation by the Reich Security Head Office was, bizarrely, carried out in secret. The researchers approached the archives they had to work with and depended on under harmless scientific pretexts.
Himmler had embarked on other historic research with a practical aim, to find proof of a superior Germanic culture in the past.
Part of Himmler's worldview was rooted in certain ideas about the Aryan people, myths of the Aryan race going back centuries. He employed anthropologists, historians, geographers to find evidence for the preeminence of the Aryan race.
Himmler's research wasn't purely academic. The SS chief was also inclined towards the occult. Mystical symbols, as well as traditional military insignia, were incorporated into the sinister black uniforms of his SS.
The death's head symbol, which famously the SS wore on their caps, was actually quite an old German military symbol and was first worn by the Prussians in the early 19th century. And it was called the Totenkopf. And it was meant to have been worn as a mark of respect for a German duke who had died. But obviously it took the Nazis to really give it its sort of real sinister appearance.
He was trying to build up something like an artificial SS cult. The reason for this was, in Himmler's view, to strengthen some kind of inner cohesion of the SS, to make it appear as an elite organization, to make it different from other Nazi organizations.
As well as distinctive uniforms, pagan-like rituals were also tailor-made for SS troopers. Sun solstice ceremonies were marked with holy fires and solemn speeches. The winter solstice ritual was celebrated a few days before Christmas.
The sun solstice ritual was a classic example of Nazi mumbo-jumbo. What people like Himmler were trying to do was replace Christianity within Germany with a new type of mysticism that was based on ancient sort of esoteric German legends and Nordic religions, and things about Odin and Thor and runes.
Even the SS letters worn on the collar tabs of uniforms were designed as runic symbols. A similar Nordic-style symbol, dubbed the Black Sun, was also etched into the floor of Wewelsburg Castle. Once a home for Renaissance bishops, Wewelsburg became a kind of temple for a new faith, of an Aryan German master race. Witches, mystic rites and runes may be dismissed as a deluded fantasy, but Heinrich Himmler's Nazi mumbo-jumbo would serve a serious purpose: to wed legions of young, loyal German men to his SS cult of death. The SS chief was raised in a middle-class Catholic family. The economic, political and social chaos that enveloped Germany after the First World War challenged traditional beliefs. Like many young Germans, Heinrich Himmler became a Nazi convert. He abandoned his Catholic faith and dabbled in the occult. In a time of turmoil, nationalistic ideas like Himmler's Germanic ideology were a popular replacement for the church.
This Germanic ideology was attractive for many, particularly young Germans after the First World War, because one has to take into account that after the collapse of the Kaiserreich of Imperial Germany, there was a need to establish a new German national identity. And many people were looking for the roots of Germandom, and they thought they could find it in some kind of mystical past.
Himmler wanted evidence of this mystical past. Natural features linked to legend, the Exernsteiner rocks near Paderborn were taken into SS protection.
I mean, they're an impressive geological feature, and for centuries in Germany they've always been kind of revered as a place of sort of mysticism, sometimes Christianity. And Himmler just treated them as yet another thing that he could appropriate as part of his all-consuming, mystical Nazi religion.
The SS chief commissioned archaeologists to dig for relics of ancient Germanic culture. Anything that could support his idea of a great Germanic identity lost in the past. Finding such relics would serve two purposes. They would provide material evidence for Himmler's new Germanic cult, and give the SS chief an excuse to direct his terror machine at what he saw as another enemy of National Socialism, the Christian churches.
Now, Himmler also believed that Christianity was a degenerate idea. He believed that Christianity would corrupt the moral fiber of the German people, bring down the Aryan race.
Himmler blamed Christian kings, especially Charlemagne, for destroying his ancient German culture, its holy places, and converting heathen Saxons to Christianity. The SS chief saw the Saxons as martyrs, and in 1935 erected thousands of stones to commemorate their apparent sacrifice. A different kind of fairy tale from the Brothers Grimm also provided the SS chief with another possible excuse to strike at Christianity.
Es war niemand Geringeres als die Brüder Grimm.
The Brothers Grimm, the founders of the German language research, had come up with an interesting theory that among the old Germanic tribes there had been wise women, priestesses, who were a positive counterweight to the men, the warriors. Apparently, the church then fought these wise women and basically declared them as witches.
Und sie dann im Grunde als Hexen dann ausgegeben.
It could explain the Reichsführer's top-secret witch research project. If he could demonstrate that Christianity had systematically persecuted Germanic priestesses, the keepers of a great national culture resurrected by the SS, the churches could be next on his hit list. The Christian faith was the enemy of Germanic culture and race. With Hitler's approval, the SS chief could strike back. But the Führer was not a fan of Himmler's virulent anti-church crusade, or his research into a mystical past.
Hitler had very, very little time for all of Himmler's nonsense, frankly. I mean, he famously berated him for trying to replace Christianity, which he regarded as one form of mysticism, with another. And he, openly said to Himmler, I don't want to become some sort of SS saint when I die. I mean, I will turn in my grave. He
thought that this pseudo-religious activities of Himmler, and also the way he tried to undermine the position in the churches in Germany, that this was probably too early and it shouldn't be done during the war. So he tried various times to stop him.
Despite his Führer's objections, Heinrich Himmler continued his witch research project in secret from 1935. SS agents combed libraries and archives for evidence relating to witch persecutions. They used false names and IDs to cover their tracks. Their boss wanted evidence of Christian atrocities against Germanic tribes, but the dates didn't match up.
The researchers working for this special witch investigation also realized that most of the witch hunts didn't take place in the Middle Ages, especially not in the early Middle Ages, when the Germanic tribes still existed, but in the early modern age, which of course is a strong indication that the motivation was not against the Germanic religion, since that didn't exist anymore at this stage.
Even though researchers couldn't find what he wanted, the SS chief carried on regardless. Records emerged of a Margaret Himmler from Markelsheim who was burnt as a witch on the 4th of April 1629. Was an accused witch an ancestor of Himmler's? Nobody could tell, nor was it clear whether the SS chief ever believed it himself. What is clear is that his secret witch research project was pursued with typical diligence. By 1944, more than 30,000 card files had been meticulously catalogued. For those who have studied the man and his motives, Himmler was much more than a mere believer in mystic Germanic ideology.
Heinrich Himmler was not an ordinary man. He was actually extremely clever. He was diligent, hardworking. He was a very fine organizer of institutions and men. He was very good at managing and indeed manipulating subordinates.
Of course, he was driven by personal ambitions, and of course this Germanic and Völkisch ideology played a role. But I think first of all, he was a politician.
It proved to be a highly dangerous, highly effective combination that propelled him to the top. In 1929, Himmler was a tiny cog in the Nazi party machine. The SS, or Schutzstaffel, was a small band only 1,000 strong. It served as a personal bodyguard for Hitler and other prominent party leaders. But the then 29-year-old had ambitious plans. His troop would become something special, the Nazi Party's elite guard. "My honor is loyalty" was etched into the blades of their daggers. Tougher, more faithful and obedient than the rest, those who wore the Totenkopf, or Death's Head badge, swore to be loyal and brave to the death. Young men flocked to banners emblazoned with the slogan, "Germany Awake." By 1931, Himmler's elite SS brand had attracted 10,000 members, many from the educated or upper classes, who saw themselves as superior to the brown shirts or SA.
The psychological appeal of joining the SS and being part of it was the same appeal that young men have today when they want to try and join elite fighting forces such as the Navy SEALs, Delta Force, the British SAS. You're very much the creme de la creme, and it very much says that, you know, if you're a member of a unit like that, I mean, you've got what it takes.
Following Hitler's rise to power in 1933, Himmler became Munich's chief of police, his SS a kind of auxiliary police force. One of his first actions was to erect the Dachau concentration camp. Word